The worst thing about every season of Survivor. Keep track of everything you agree with and let me know down in the comments. Survivor Borneo gets very predictable after the very first episode when it gets spoiled that Richard Hatch would be the ultimate winner of the season. If you can't remember what I'm talking about, in the opening moments, Richard Hatch tells the camera he has $1 million check written already.
I've got the $1 million check written already. I mean, I'm the winner. And it's that kind of cocky attitude that makes people really hate your guts.
For all the complaining the Survivor community makes about New Era Survivor being only 26 days, I must say the worst part about Survivor the Australian Outback is that they decided to make the competition 42 days long. Near the end of the season, you really start to feel the difference the extra couple of days makes, as this is one of the most boring finale episodes ever. In a controversial mistake made by Jeff Probst that the Final Four Immunity Challenge resulted in a screw-up affecting the rest of the game. If you can't remember, this challenge was trivia based, and Jeff asked which female survivor does not have anything pierced, including her ears. Jeff would end up giving Kim the victory, screwing over the game for Tom and Lex, ultimately forcing the producers to award the two $100,000. Survivor MARQUESAS is remembered for a lot of reasons, including Boss and Rob and the first ever rock drop. But do you want to know what this season isn't remembered for? I would bet money that unless you're a regular viewer of Survivor YouTuber Idled Out, you don't even know what I'm talking about when I say the kite reward challenge.
The second lamest challenge in Survivor history is flying a kite in Survivor MARQUESAS.
Everything. I literally hate everything about Survivor Thailand except for the amazing Attack Zone challenge. Survivor Amazon has a lot to love about it, including RHAP legend Rob Sesternino. But if there was one thing I hate most about the 6th season of Survivor, it's gotta be the sexist comments. I feel like almost everyone will be agreeing with me on this one, but the worst thing about Survivor Pearl Islands, and the only thing against this season from being perfect, is the inclusion of the surprise outcast twist bringing Burton and Lil back into the game.
Morgan, Drake, your past has come back to haunt you. Come on in, guys.
Survivor All-Stars gets a ton of heat for the overall darkness that surrounds the season, possibly a spicy hot take, but I find the gameplay interesting. No, instead I think the worst part about the first returning player season of Survivor was how big of a target all the winners had in the early parts of the game. Tina, Jenna, Richard, and Ethan didn't have a chance as they were all voted out during the pre-merge.
5th person voted out of Survivor All-Stars. Rich.
I've been bamboozled!
Survivor Vanuatu is a nice slow burn with a super compelling finish to its story, but with that being said, it might have the worst episode 1 of all time. This episode completely lacked any direction with no cohesive story, and unfortunately it wasn't the producer's fault, as the episode was planned to be 90 minutes long but got cut to 60 minutes at the last second. By far the worst thing about Survivor Palau was the opening episode twist before the game even truly started. Close your eyes and imagine you get the chance to play Survivor. You are flown out to location and the game has officially started, or so you thought. In a very controversial twist, Survivor Palau had a schoolyard pick on day 2 where the final 2 players not selected would be instantly eliminated from the game. Let's get Jonathan and Wanda on second chance too. The single worst thing about the single most forgettable Survivor season of all time is the disappointing introduction of the Hidden Immunity Idol. The Hidden Immunity Idol would later turn into a game-changing addition to Survivor, but it felt super lackluster how the player that ended up finding the idol would actually find it off screen. In fact, it would take the Survivor producers a long time to figure out how to incorporate the Hidden Immunity Idol correctly, as it's the worst part of Survivor Panama. I need to explain I love Terry as a Survivor player, but it kind of ruins the excitement when the viewer knows he has a get out of jail free card. If you were to ask 7-year-old me in 2006 what the worst thing about Survivor Cook Islands was, I would without a doubt say Ozzy losing to Yule at the final tribal council. Don't worry, I've come to my senses 16 years later and now believe the bottle twist is the worst thing about this season. It's tricky because when you think about it, the bottle twist saves the season by creating the iconic underdog story of the I-2-4. But there's just no way I-2 would have received the same twist in the bottle if they were to lose the immunity challenge.
The losing tribe will take back to camp with them this bottle. Inside it is a note. It must remain sealed.
Almost everything about this season is awful. Survivor Fiji is hands down the worst Survivor season of all time, and a big reason for that is the ridiculous haves versus have-not twist, where one tribe would be living in luxury and the other group would suffer. I rarely bring up the Survivor reunion show on this channel, but I do when it creates such cringy moments that you can't help but feel bad for. Heads up, we have another reunion moment later in this video, but specifically I'm talking about the Survivor China moment here, when Jeff Probst asks Courtney if she has an eating disorder. And later on in the reunion, ask Eric if he's still a virgin after starting to date fellow castaway Jamie. Even the best seasons of Survivor have a couple of things about them that the community hates, and Survivor Micronesia fans versus favorites is no exception. First, I need to ask, who is the best Survivor player to never win? I'm glad we all agree it's Saree Fields, and going into day 38, she was a solid lock to win the season, until the surprise final 2 twist due to all the quits and medical evacuations that took place throughout the season. A huge majority of Survivor fans thought Marcus was robbed from a fair shot of winning Survivor Gabon, and it was a result of the fake merge twist. The two tribes were convinced they were merging with a massive feast. Included in the feast was a clue to a hidden immunity idol that Marcus convinces everyone to dig up and throw into the ocean. Surprise attack, the players later find out this is not a merge, and Marcus was voted out the very next day. Survivor Tokensheens does a lot of things right, turning it into a really strong season of Survivor. However, I think it has one of the worst payoffs from a pre-merge into a post-merge in Survivor history. I'm talking about the Exile Alliance that was hyped up so much in the first half of the season as being this game-changing cross-tribal alliance that would take over the game. Well, guess what? It literally led to nothing. Nothing. A little bit of a bias, but fun fact, this is me. My name is Brett Russell. Going into this season, I was super pumped as we were getting 2 dudes named Russell and 1 dude named Brett. We would later find one of them to be one of the most iconic players ever, but more on that in a minute. Personally, I think the worst thing about Survivor Samoa is the lack of screen time given to Brett. It's literally a meme at this point on Reddit about this guy basically being a robot. However, if he was able to win that final immunity challenge, he would have been the winner of the season.
Brett falls off. Russell wins individual immunity, his first, and it couldn't have come at a better time.
And talking about Russell Hantz, this guy has turned into my arch nemesis, and I truly believe there is only enough room for one Russell in the Survivor YouTube community. If you are enjoying this video so far, please consider subscribing and helping me reach my goal of passing Russell Hantz in subscribers. Survivor Heroes vs Villains is a beloved season, but it broke my heart in the early episodes seeing James go freakout mode at Stephanie as the heroes kept losing. I'm probably grasping at straws to find something negative about this season, however, James's legacy was crushed with his actions here.
Stephanie has been the only person in Survivor history to lose every person in her tribe to where she's the only one left.
The worst part about Survivor Nicaragua came down to a dumb twist or some stupid quits. And although the Medallion of Power is truly dumb, at the end of the day it was harmless compared to what happened on day 28. You need to cut a little bit of slack because production didn't give Purple Kelly much clothing, making her freezing out there, and Nyanka was one of the most interesting parts of the season, but as someone whose dream it is to one day play Survivor, this really hurts.
Yes or no? Are you going to stay in this game and fight for a shot to win it, or are you going to quit?
I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit.
Do you know about Murphy's Law? I'm talking about the law of David Murphy, as we are talking about the second reunion show moment on this list. The thing I hate most about Survivor Redemption Island is the cringe that I'm gonna make you suffer through.
You challenge me.
Shut it down right now. Shut it down.
You drive me nuts, but at the end of the day, you've made me happier than I could ever ask to be. So will you marry me, please?
Shut the flipping front door.
He almost did it. He almost frickin' did it. In Survivor South Pacific, Ozzy almost won himself the title of Sole Survivor with the help of the Redemption Island twist. And he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for Sophie and her dang puzzle skills. Leave a like on this video if you agree the worst part about Survivor One World is Colton Cumbie. That's it. That's the answer. And to give all of you a little extra motivation, if this video reaches 150 likes, I'll make a video discussing one thing I love about every Survivor season. As a joke, I want to say Zane Knight being the first person voted out was the thing I hated most about Survivor Philippines, but I just couldn't do it. Where in fact, similar to Survivor South Pacific, the thing I hate most about Survivor Philippines is how Malcolm chokes the final immunity challenge in a pathetic fashion. Let's be real, there's a lot of things to hate about Survivor Caramoan, but I think the worst thing of all can be described in 2 words: Brandon Hantz.
Stop talking about yourself. Boston Rob took you to the end of the game. You didn't do anything. You were made fun of, and you come here and you tell me don't bite the hand that feeds you? I feed myself.
Similar to Survivor Palau, the worst thing about Survivor Blood vs. Water is the opening moments of the first episode, when 2 players would be voted out before the game would even begin. Due to pre-game alliances, this would screw over Survivor hero Candace Cody, and the popularity of Rupert would screw over his wife Laura.
Each tribe is now going to vote someone out.
Oh my gosh.
You know you're discussing one of the best seasons of all time when I'm reaching to find anything I hate about it. Although it doesn't impact the season, I always hate seeing someone quit Survivor, and Lindsay Olgie is no exception. Whoa, look at that, back-to-back quits. The thing I hate most about Survivor San Juan del Sur is Julie McGee quitting during the merge episode, an episode that's supposed to be super intense. Survivor Worlds Apart is another one of those seasons that feels like a dark cloud is hovering over it the entire time. By far the worst thing about the season is the bullying of Sharon from Dan and Will. I understand we are viewing an edited version of what took place, but this is just super difficult to watch. Don't get it mixed up with me hating the player, more hating the circumstances behind Terry being evacuated from Survivor Cambodia. 100% in that situation, Terry makes the right decision to leave the game, and super emotional wondering if his son was going to be okay.
I just got a phone call from your wife and your son, Dan. He's in the hospital.
Aubrey was robbed. The worst part about Survivor Go Wrong was watching Michelle win the season. Just joking, one thing I hate about Survivor Go Wrong was the juror removal twist. Imagine you're playing Survivor, you made the merge, you have a hidden immunity idol, but oh no, you get medically evacuated from the game. This was Neil's reality, however, he had some relief in knowing he was going to be the first member of the jury, until due to the random juror removal twist that took that away from him as well. I'm a big fan of Survivor Millennials versus Gen X, but in general, the thing I hate most about that season is the constant overplaying and big move-itis that is seen from the entire cast. Whether it be Will going for rocks for Zeke only to flip on him 3 days later, or David burning his idol for Jessica, it was all too much. Throughout this video, some of the moments I hate most have come from real-world moments that have happened while playing Survivor, and other times it's gameplay-related events. I really want to say the worst thing about Survivor Game Changers being Advantage Geddon eliminating Sari on day 36, but I just can't say that's the thing I hate most when we have this taking place on day 18.
But that's personal.
It has nothing to do with the game.
That's personal. You didn't have to do that.
This is going to be a pretty obvious one, but the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about Survivor, heroes versus healers versus hustlers, is also the thing I hate most with the forced fire making challenge. I've tried my best to include specific moments throughout this video and not overarching plot lines, but I need to make an exception for the 36th season of Survivor. By far the worst thing about Survivor Ghost Island is the edit and the entire idea behind Naviti Strong. It really shows the chokehold Dom and Wendell had on the entire season, with no one making moves on the core alliance. Nothing. I hate nothing about Survivor David versus Goliath. Get ready for a spicy hot take about Survivor Edge of Extinction, but the worst part about that season was the captains playing the game. Aubrey, Wentworth, David, and Joe didn't add anything to their stories of Survivor players, and if anything, it really hurt their overall legacies. The worst part about this season is the entire Dan situation. Due to how difficult it was bringing together 20 past Survivor winners into a single season, I understand the reasoning for including the Edge of Extinction, but at the same time, with the fast-paced gameplay, we needed either longer episodes or the Edge of Extinction completely cut from season 40. The worst part about Survivor 41 is the Hourglass twist, and the worst part about Survivor 42 is the Hourglass twist. Click right here for my ranking of every Survivor winner worst to best.